The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from Lucaba, North Carolina, it's the final race on the regular season for the Upstate Racing League as we head into the 11th and final race before we set a chase grid of 12 drivers up for a 5-race chase for a title that gets underway in just 1 week's time. So we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Southern National Motorsports Park for tonight's Kingsport Tire and Auto Center 125. As always, happy to have you with us for LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Upstate Racing League Lace Enterprises MP Roy Pro Late Model Series on iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Pasoko, topside with Chris Murdoch. Downstairs is Cisco Scaramouza pushing the buttons and bringing us to you here this evening. Chris, this race kind of falls funny with the 16-race calendar, round 11, the final one on the regular season, and for the guys that, in all honesty, we'll be talking about for the bulk of the night, the guys who are going to be up and fighting for the wins, the guys who have racked up double-digit wins on the year, guys like Nicholas Rasmussen, Justin Fuller, Brandon Otto, 1, 2, and 3 in the championship. Tonight is really not that critical for them because they're well off and way above the cut line. But tonight is going to be critical for the guys around that P12 into points because there are a handful of drivers who, depending on tonight's result, could enter tonight above and leave tonight below the cut line and vice versa as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one driver in particular I'm going to be paying attention to here tonight, Evan, that 51 machine of Justin Fuller. He's had a rough last couple of weeks. He's been up in the front and just been plagued by the mid-card crashes, and it's definitely taken away from his points. You said he's way above the cutoff line, but that can drastically change. He needs to have a good turnaround here tonight, get that car going in the right direction, and maybe have something going for this team, or I'm good, I'm above the cutoff line could turn into the, oh no, this championship is going away from me. And it's going to be interesting to see how he treats this race here tonight.
One thing that we joked around with a couple of the guys closer up front as you take a look at the championship is that, they get wins early on and we kind of say, all right, you got a couple of weeks until things get serious. But if you kind of become complacent, you want to enter the chase with some momentum, not a string of top 10 or top 15 finishes for somebody who going to be putting that car in victory lane. And noted Rasmussen, Fuller, Renato, Jason Stenny will also note as Jordan She's Autosport rookie points leader. He is 4th in the overall points. AJ Hamill, Stefan Baranek, Brian Rogers, Al Smith, CJ LaVere are the drivers who are locked into tonight. AJ Hamill is another driver who we'll be talking about tonight who's P5 at the points, but the other AJ Bunch, is on track, but he has yet to put a time in practice or qualifying. If he takes the green flag tonight, he locks up that number 10 position at a 12 at a chase. He'll advance for the championship. This is where we get into these scenarios, though, here on down, Chris. 11th in the points is Justin McDuff. He is 18 points above the cut line. He will lock himself in with a 20th or better finish here tonight. The driver right on the bubble, John Ada, is going to be able to lock himself in if he's able to get 6 points better than J.D. Callahan behind him. J.D. Callahan is at a -6 advantage right now in 13th. Then you've got Eric Hagg still in it, only 9 points back. Alex Orion's another rookie, only 13 points back. And James McIntyre Jr. even only 17 points back. So the night would really have to go downhill for this not to work out for Justin McDuff. John Ada, on the other hand, can't afford for tonight to be a mistake for him.
Yeah, definitely. As we take a look at your rookie points, you mentioned Jason Stinney. It's going to be interesting here tonight, Evan. We have a lot on our plate. We're not just going to be paying attention to, your Nicholas Rasmussens, your Justin Fullers, your Brian Rogers Jr.'s. We're going to be looking back at 10th place, 12th place, 20th place. We're going to be looking all over the place tonight just to see how this cutoff is going to affect everybody in the field tonight.
Take a look at those rookie points as well, and they're pretty squared away on what tonight means for everybody. There are 12 drivers who are going to battle for the championship, and there's about 3 or 4 of them at the moment who don't necessarily know their fate. For those who make it into that top 12 after tonight, it will be a 5-race chase for the championship starting next week right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. With that being said, their warm-up session is drawn to a close. We are set to drop the green flag for the final time on the regular season, and so we go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. The NHR Pole Award tonight belongs to Mr. Eric Hag and Hag TV Machine. The number 99 with a 14.403 will start from pole. Critical for a guy who comes into tonight 9 points behind the cut line. Brandon Otto, defending champion, get a roll from P2. We've got Sean Cool, CJ Lavera, and Brian Rogers Jr. inside of the top 5.
Yep. In that 6th place position, we got AJ Hamill in that 18th machine. Rex Hoyle, 7th. Justin Fuller, 8th. 9th, JD Callahan. And rounding out your top 10, that's that 71 machine of Nicholas Rasmussen.
Jason Stenning getting back P11, joined on row 6 by Justin McDuff. Paul Fugate will start an unlucky number P13 tonight with James McIntyre Jr. looking for a good result if he wants any hopes of advancing in 14th. John Ada, 15th position. The 97 is going to have pressure on him early.
16th belongs to that 02 of Mike Fortier. Dan Dubuque, 60 in that 61 machine. 17th, 18th, Al Smith Jr. Mike Holtzclaw, 19th. 20th is Alex Oriens.
Found a couple of drivers to put down a time at qualifying. 21st for Eric Spencer, Dylan Gadet 22nd, J. Dubuque 23rd, AJ Bunch at the back of the pack with a provisional is on track. When he collects the green flag, he will lock himself into that number 10 position on the qualifying grid for the championship. The lights go out on top of the pace car. We get set to go green flag racing tonight from the Southern National Motorsports Park, a very unique racetrack, one of the newer ones to the iRacing service, an asphalt surface at 0.4 of a mile in length, 17 degrees to make it in the corner, 7 degrees on the straightaway. We've got 125 laps of action do it for you tonight. We're happy to have you with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Green flag in the air for your race leader, and Eric Hag off to turn number 1 and 2, side by side with that 24 of Brandon Otto. Seems like everybody still door to door as we already get set to complete lap number 1. Maybe a small advantage to the 24 on the outside for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, definitely, Evan. Nobody's wanting to give an inch here. Everything seems to be pretty even up. You're going to see the bottom line start to work out for a lot of these drivers. As you see now, there's a little contact between Sean Cool and Brandon Otto, but that allows Eric Hag to secure that first place position, and Brandon Otto will now drop back in line. We're going to jump back here to see our next second place finish. That's AJ Hamill and Brian Rogers Jr., followed by Justin Fuller and Rex Hoyle. They're still side by side trying to settle this out, and nobody's wanting to give up yet.
With the guys up front trying to get away with things, Hag was able to get the race lead, run away. Otto single file P2, Sean Cool in 3rd, CJ Lavere in the number 4 spot, and that's where you find the battle you were talking about with Hamill and Rogers for P5. Curious to see if it is going to be the guys on that bottom where you do see a bulk of the rubbered in already at, or if maybe the outside lane going to be able to do something with. The outside has shown in the mere 5 laps that we've done so far that, at least compared to some other tracks where we see guys single file out almost right away, that you can hang on the top. Not necessarily that you want to be up there, but you look at the battle for P5, it's kind of holding up the single file behind him because Hamill wasn't going to give it up that time by. It looks like just now Brian Rogers Jr. is going to be able to clear him, maintain that number 5 spot, and now you find a disadvantage of being on the outside because Hamill stuck up there as the freight train's coming up the bottom.
Yeah, definitely. Each driver back to back as you see the 50 of Rex Hoyle as we're on board with him, trying to force it in there inside. He's not going to be able to make it. AJ Hamill shuts the door, finally gets down. He's going to be on the back bumper of Justin Fuller as the caution comes out here, Evan.
First caution on the night going to come at lap number 8. We'll check things up, and the race leader is going to look for the pace car issues with the number 97 of John Ada. We were just talking about the pressure that was going to be on him for starting to back in a 15th position. He came into tonight just 6 points above JD Callahan for the final transfer spot, and issues with John Ada early in this race. He had contact back in the corner with the 29. And it looked like it might have stemmed from a little bit of pinching. The 29 didn't give him a lot of space. good piece of driving. Interestingly enough, Chris, that was with JD Callahan. So those two guys battling for that final transfer spot get together, and unfortunately for Ada, he's the one of the two that goes around.
Yeah, and it seems like Ada's able to keep it off of pretty much everything here, Evan, but it's just something you see. It's how bad these drivers want that transfer position in this championship. It just shows how hard they're willing to race, and that just shows really unfortunate for that 97 of John Ada, but he's still got a lot of time to get back up there and try to fight for position.
Some housekeeping things to note for those who regularly tune in on Thursday night with us. You'll know that some of the races do have limited tires available for these guys to be able to come down to the pit lane. Oftentimes, 4 tires are up for grabs, and sometimes we see guys utilize a 4-tire stop or have the opportunity to come down twice and get 2 tires each trip down to the pit lane. According to Race Control, there are no tires available for these guys in tonight's race. Again, 125 laps is a pretty number, but it is not all that much at Southern National, just about 50 miles until we get from this point to the checkered flag. Nice orderly, though, for the restart. We'll put the lights back on one more time to make sure everybody at the back is caught back up before we go back green again. This caution not going to last too long because John Ada, luckily, Chris, despite the fact that he went around and is going to have to go to the back, didn't get any damage, so that car is still good, but the live points right now would put him behind the cut line with JD Callahan running P11.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, 125 laps here at Southern National is not a lot of time, so he's going to have to get right back on the pedal if he expects to get back up where he was battling with JD Callahan. It's all about that. How many, mistakes can you afford until you're out of it as the pace car drops down, green flag back out in the air as Eric Hagg is going to control him down into turn 1.
We'll see what we saw really that first time, and that is a lot of side-by-side up at the north end of the scoring pylon. The 99 battling for the race lead with the 24. He was able to get it last time. He will do it this time. Hagg defends P1. Odo with the crossover, the bump and run. Caution is out, but Hagg can't hang on. And a 99 snaps back up the hill, and he's in the fence.
Yeah, but there was a caution before that. The caution came out. It wasn't because of them the caution came out, but heavy damage on that 99 machine of Eric Hagg as the cautions brought out from the 61 machine of Dan Dubuque.
Hagg coming over the radio kind of admitting that he threw the block on that one, and again to be cited that it was 9 points behind the cut line, so it was going to be an aggressive move to not give up the spot. Basically, he needed to win. I hope that some of the other pieces fell into place. The caution actually came up behind them with the 61 and the 96. The 96 was actually given a little bit of assistance. Looks like Mike Holtzclaw got into the back of Al Smith Jr. He tagged Danny Dubuque, and kind of very similar to what we saw off in turn 1. The 61 snapped back up the hill, and then there was a secondary accident with John Ada, who did get some significant back-end damage, splintered around trying to avoid that, and things are not looking good for the 97 team.
Yeah, things quickly spiraling out of control in the final race before the chase here in the Upstate Racing League. It's just not what you want to see. These cars are more looking like derby cars now out here, Evan, after just a few short laps. We're only on lap 17 now as we just crossed the line. That's going to put Brandon Odo at the lead as a result of, that contact between John Ada, but he has some heavy rear end damage now as it's kind of caved in on him too.
So this caution in particular, big championship implications when you consider John Ada, who was 12th in the points, was involved in a secondary accident. Eric Hagg, who was 14th in the points, was involved. So JD Callahan could be in a very good position again. He came into tonight 6 points behind John Ada for the final transfer spot. Callahan is 10th. We also have John Ada down in 22nd, so he's about 6 points ahead of him at the moment. And that would be great news for Eric Hagg, because Hagg would then put himself on the doorstep. He's also had problems, and that might be a saving grace for a John Ada if he's able to pick his way back up as the night goes on to get the JD Callahan. But again, as the pace car gets set to duck down and away the next time by, when we do go green, we will have a mere 20 laps complete of the 125 on the night. I say a mere, that's essentially, though, almost 1/5 distance already, and we've only had 2 yellows to this point. But again, these championship implications are going to be big with every single passing minute. We'll let you know how the points look as the night continues to go on, as the pace car is going to leave the hands for the first time tonight, Chris, in the hands of the 24.
Yeah, definitely. And the 24 wanted that lead as the pace car drops off here and takes the lead. He's going to be on the defense from Sean Cool and CJ Levere. CJ Levere seems to be one of the only clean cars up here right now. I see some front end damage as he just now turns Sean Cool as I spoke to say, and Justin Fuller is involved.
Caution back out again, and for the second time, it starts from up inside of the top 3. We'll slow things down again. That one looks somewhat similar to the one we saw before. Just looked like the 2 overdrove it a little bit. The 5 was pinching down on the 24. He was using the 24 to gauge how low he could go, and the 2 was just a little bit higher up at the bottom lane, and essentially the 2 ended up overdriving it in. You could call it a race incident. I think that if there's any situation where it's a race incident, it's that one. No intent there. But a little bit hot in there. Got CJ Levere tagged the 5 of Sean Cool. Essentially saved it, but he came up and slammed Justin Fuller. Fuller going to be the guy who really gets the short end of the straw on this one. AJ Hamill was involved. Hamill's so high in the points it's not going to affect him. But another rough trip down through 1 and 2.
Yeah, definitely. And one driver who I mentioned at the top of the show, Evan, who needed a turnaround here at Southern National is Justin Fuller. And he was just wrong place, wrong time, caught up on the outside, and that just turns his day into nothing right there. I guess it's kind of the commentator's curse, I guess, as I mentioned CJ Levere having a clean car, just getting into, the drivers there, and it's just not what you want to see here, especially this early on.
Even your race leader, the 24 Brandon Otto, does have a little bit of back-end damage on his Chevrolet Corvette P1. A lot of things have shuffled up in the opening laps of this race. How about Justin McDuff, who is 11th in the points into tonight? And again, all he needs is a top 20 finish to lock himself into a position on the championship grid. With 3 drivers falling off of the lead lap already, there's only 21 cars at the lead lap. Things looking good for him so far, but he's +8, started 12th, runs 4th right now. He will be on the outside of row number 2 when we cycle back around and get set to get this race back at green flag conditions off of a yellow once again. Other guys who have been shuffling it around, you got Brian Rogers Jr. in that 12, now P2. Rex Hoyle is up to P3. JD Callahan, notably P5. John Ada at the moment, P16. Callahan with an advantage at the moment of 5 points. Between the 2 and Sean Cool just lost the engine off in turns 1 and 2 as we get set to come back to green. So his night just took an abrupt end, and then we'll put the lights back on so that car can get out of the way.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for that number 5 car of Sean Cole. Just as it seemed like he got it back together, you'll see him pull off here off the track and take it back to the garage. Really unfortunate. These cars are dropping like flies, Evan. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People driving hard, they all want this this position that they're having here, and it's just not working out for them. They're meeting in inopportune places, and it's going to spell bad for somebody here shortly.
The iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car is going to make the sharp left-hand turn down and away. Brandon Otto, a great jump coming off of quarter number 4. Green flag back in the air, back away we go. Rogers right back down to the inside of the racetrack. P2 battle's going to be for 3rd.
Yeah, Rex Hoyle on the inside of that 20 of Justin McDuff, not wanting to give up that 20, piling back down as there is another caution out here at Southern National 11.
This one not going to come for the guys up front. They're going to be able to safely navigate on by. It looks like it might have been problems with Mike Fortier in the O2. Looks like O2 may have been an innocent victim. It started in front of him with Alex Oriens, number 31. Ended up turned the wrong way, and it was another one of those late moves, but the 31 was high, and he was going to an opening. The opening was there, but when he made the move to the bottom, the 73 behind of Eric Spencer had committed to make it a side-by-side fight, tagged him, and sent him around. That one really a 2-car accident. 31 laps in the books tonight from Southern National Motorsports Park, and as we pace under yellow once again, we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, come back for the restart. You're watching the Upstate Racing League on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Back live from Luca, North Carolina. The pace cars going to knock off and away. Brandon Otto going to be in control once again. It's the final race of the regular season for the Upstate Racing League on LSRTV. Plenty of championship implications so far as we go back to green flag conditions with 35 of 125 laps of the night completed and behind us. Battle for the race lead, a lot closer than it was in the last one. Look at the 12 of Brian Rogers Jr. Swooped to the bottom that time in 3 and 4. Comes up a little bit short at the line, but does make it a side-by-side fight for the race lead, and he's got some momentum coming off the corner number 2.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing from Brian Rogers Jr. is just the impatience. You know, we've had a lot of these cautions, and as it looks now, it's not going to be the last one we see here tonight, Evan. So, you know, you can't really afford to hold back, especially with only 125 laps. We're just now about to cross the line for lap 39. So this race is going by super fast, even with all the cautions. So these drivers who are wanting to get up the points cannot wait very much longer, or, you know, they're going to miss their opportunity to get some big positions here tonight.
We've seen guys with problems, and it all seems to coincidentally be the guys that have been around the cut line. So if you're looking for an opportunity, now's the time to do it. Odo, Rogers, McDuff, Hoyle, Callahan, the top 5. Again, the biggest battle on track right now is one that is John Ada 15th, J.D. Callahan 5th. Callahan has to beat Ada by 6 or more positions to transfer in with a final transfer spot. That's something that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. There's a whole lot of stuff going on around this racetrack, but let's take a look at Brandon Odo finally getting some green flag laps here at Southern National, and he's able to pull away from Brian Rogers Jr. almost up to half a second now on that lead. So Brandon Odo finding his rhythm, getting his his car where he wants it, and that's something you gotta do here at Southern National. You know, you don't have a lot of time, especially with all these cautions and the short amount of race time. So if you can find your rhythm early, then you're going to be set when everything's said and done.
We're on right now with 19 drivers onto the lead lap, top to bottom. It looks like, at the time being, maybe single file for the first time tonight. Again, we talked about how, despite the fact that there's 125 laps on the board, it's not normally a long night out at the racetrack on Thursdays. But Chris, this race has had a really slow start, and through all of that, Brandon Odo's been able to get his way to the race lead. I know that Justin McDuff has been able to pick up a couple of spots. AJ Bunch started 24th position tonight. Again, all he needed to do was start the race, and he was going to lock into the chase, but he himself from 24th to 8th. So, well, obviously having all those yellows has hurt a lot of guys. It's given a lot of guys from the back of the pack an opportunity to work their way forward.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I myself like to see. You know, some of the names we don't see up here on, you know, occasion. Of course, we have, you know, the Brian Rogers Jr.'s, the Brandon Odos, the Nicholas Rasmussen's up here, but then you got, you know, Mike Holtzclaw, Dylan Gaudet, you know, all of these drivers who are now making their way up towards the front due to some other drivers' misfortunes. And you see most of the drivers you see driving up here, you know, up front every week, you know, either in the back or off the track. You got Eric Hagg, you know, off the track. Justin Fuller, his race is over. So this race is completely flipped to what we're normally used to seeing here.
Going to be at lap 50 this time by, not all that far away for the halfway point when we do get to the cross flags point in this race. We'll take a look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break, and we'll break down what we've seen so far and get set for the second half of the race. That coming up in just a little bit. But some of these battles have kind of simmered down, some of them still very much active. J.D. Callahan's very pressured by the 43 of Jason Stenny. We saw the issue with, at the number 1 position, Eric Hagg. It was a little bit of a late move by Odo. Hagg kind of admitted on the radio that he wasn't going to give that spot up and block because he knew how critical those points were. So that's the aggressive approach. I think Eric Hagg had to do that, being 9 points below the cut line, Chris, if you wanted a shot. For J.D. Callahan, though, you're coming into this 6 points back, but right now you're good. John Ada is climbing. At a point, John Ada's 14th. If John Ada gets to 12th and Stenny stays in 6th, they will then be tied in the overall championship. But should Stenny maybe take it a little bit easier? He's got the 43 of Stenny started behind Callahan. Callahan's the guy we're talking about in P5. But if Stenny gets to Callahan, and he's been all over the bumper, you think it might be a good idea for the 29 to let the 43 go and avoid the contact? Or do you think that that position could come down to it and he shouldn't give it up?
I definitely think it's a good idea to, let the 43 go. You don't want to cause unnecessary issues, especially at this track here. If you got your spotter in there saying Ada's getting closer, then you have to worry about getting up there. But right now, he seems to have Ada at a comfortable position. What is one position? Especially with the race, how it's been going today, we've seen a lot of drivers who have met in the middle in these corners, and you just don't want to be on the receiving end of that bad luck, because that one position could turn into 20 positions, Evan, and it just starts spiraling from there. So I think if the 43 of Jason Stinney does get to JD Callahan should make the move to let him go.
We continue to watch John Ada because, again, with that 97 now side by side with CJ LaVere, it's a battle for 14th, and the number 2 gets the spot. So CJ LaVere helping out JD Callahan by picking up a spot there. Ada going to fall back to 15th. Callahan can defend P5 only once. If now by losing that spot, if Ada picks up 3 positions, 29 can't do anything about it. He would have to continue to counteract that. So you could say that dropping behind the 43 would be the smart move, and you could also argue that if he does that, and then, that ends up being the differential position, then he kind of kicks himself over it. Caution flag and a fly, though. Your race leaders just went by it, I think, coming off of corner number 4 somewhere on racetrack. The lights are back on top of the pace car, and we'll slow things down once again. Trying to find the driver who had the issue, thinking it may have been Dylan Gaudette, but he appears to be okay. I know one driver just ended up down on the pit lane, and we'll see if that had anything to do with it. But the lights back on top of the pace car. We'll check things up. This will basically represent the halfway point in this race. It might have been a driver coming to a stop. It was Alex Oriens in the 31 who decided to park it on the front straightaway, and that led to a yellow, not surprisingly. So that one definitely avoidable.
Yeah, definitely avoidable, and it kind of throws the point I was getting ready to make out of the window here, Evan. Brandon Odo, Brian Rogers Jr., they were up on bumper to bumper, and that's just because of lapped traffic, as we get word that Alex Oriens blew up on the front straightaway, and that was the result of the caution. So unfortunate for that 31 machine. But as I was talking about, Brian Rogers Jr. and Brandon Odo had just reached lap traffic, which drew that 12 car of Brian Rogers Jr. closer, and that's something you got to watch out for. This is a short track. You approach lap traffic very quickly here, and it's going to be interesting to see who can navigate that the best. That run, it was definitely Brian Rogers Jr.
Once again, this would also kind of be the point in the race where if we had tires, you would see the guys who would go with the more popular strategy of coming down to the pit lane and going 4 tires at once to come down around this point, get that fresh rubber. But again, tonight's race, no tires. Now, we do have a more likelihood of seeing tires become available in some of these chase races, talking about the length of these races. The last couple of races all the way through Martinsville have been 125 laps, so things get a bit beefed up a little bit for the chase for the championship, including a 200-lap season finale. And these guys have already been planning their schedule for the 2017-2018 campaign, and it sounds like those races also going to be about 50 laps longer than the ones that you're seeing right now. So get used to the tire strategy going forward. But at the moment, you got to keep the race car in one piece. I think that's the best strategical move you can make.
Yeah, definitely keep the car in one piece. That's what all these drivers are having trouble doing as the pace car drops back down, and Brandon Odo is going to lead him to the green once again. Gets a great start, but you just don't see that. You're running so close here with this track, and it's just going to be so hard to see a clean car, especially now on this restart where you see sometimes cautions breed cautions.
It is the way it goes, and I think that's kind of what we saw earlier on in this one. Side-by-side battle going to be on for third as 1 and 2 sorted it out very diplomatically. The 50 Machida Rex Hoyle topside trying to get around the 20 adjusted McDuffie. Was about 6 inches from being cleared the last time by. That time at the stripe, though, McDuff was able to bring it back, but the 50 is going to get the job done just in time. Caution flag is out. It's back in the pack with Dylan Gaudette.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for that 26 machine. He seemed to have a little bit of help of what we've seen so many times here tonight, Evan, just getting down there too hot. That car, the 06, of James McIntyre Jr. getting in there just a little bit hot, then meeting together and just completely turning the 26 of Dylan Gaudette, and it just did not go well, as you see a bunch of other drivers, even John Ada, trying to catch up and get out of the way there, narrowly avoiding this wreck.
Basically, this is going to mark the halfway point in tonight's race, so we'll take this opportunity and take a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and many more. Brandon Oda, your race leader, after the little bit of contact for that top spot earlier on in this race, leads over Brian Rogers Jr., Rex Hoyle, Justin McDuff, and Jason Stenny inside of the top 5. J.D. Callahan, A.J. Bunch, Mike Holtzclaw, A.J. Hamill, and Eric Spencer are your top 10.
John Ada in that 97 machine, 11th, 12th, CJ Leverett, Al Smith Jr., 13th, 14th, Dan Dubuque, 15th, Jay Dubuque, James McIntyre Jr., 16th, 17th, that 71 machine of Nicholas Rasmussen, 18th, in the last car on the lead lap, Paul Fugate, 19th, Dylan Gaudette, and rounding out your top 20, that 31 machine of Alex Oriens.
Final couple of guys as well. Sean Cooley's out of the race in 21st. So is Mike Fortier, 22nd. Justin Fuller, 23rd. And Eric Hagg, 24th. That's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. And you could also use our LSRTV promo code by still entering PR-2016 LSRTV when you register for a new iRacing membership. You'll get the cars that you see on track, the NASCAR late model, absolutely free. It'll go nice with the 13 cars and 14 tracks that are also included free with the new iRacing subscription. Again, that is PR-2016 LSRTV, and that is valid on new iRacing memberships only. The Ford Mustang dives out of the way, gives way to the Chevy Corvette of Brandon Odo. Green flying back in the air, no problem for him.
Yeah, definitely jumping out to a great lead once again. The next battle you see is that 50 machine of Rex Hoyle and the 20 of Justin McDuff. Justin McDuff starting in that 12th position. He's all the way up to 3rd. And a great run by that 20 machine, but he's just falling victim to that outside line. Rex Hoyle going to be able to make that pass, and you're going to have the 43 of Jason Stinney coming up, and another driver that is, in really big chase implications. J.D. Callahan is another driver that's stuck up there on that outside lane.
Seems that the battles have been on these restarts after being early on in this race for 1st and 3rd, now more so for 5th and 7th, as it about is at the moment. It's a battle for 4th. McDuffie outside, as he was on the opposite of the last time around. You see the 20 and the 19 running similar paint schemes. If they can line up single file here, the 43 is going to win that battle. Jason Stenny with a crossover. Nice move. McDuff back down to the bottom. I don't think he's going to be able to keep his nose there. He's not going to be able to. Stenny wins the battle, but the right mindset by the 20, not give it up. We'll now see if that 19 of Bunch has anything for the 29 of Callahan, and not yet.
And it's definitely going to be a waiting game for that 20 now, just to see if the 43 messes up. But behind Justin McDuff, J.D. Callahan, we were mentioning his battle with John Ada. John Ada only 3 positions back now, Evan. He's slowly making his way up. So should J.D. Callahan be a little bit worried now with how fast that 97 is approaching?
Big news with the battle for the final transfer spot in the championship. J.D. Callahan still in that P6 spot. In fact, he's under attack right now, but a 19 of A.J. Bunch. He got a big battle won when he won that side-by-side battle off for the restart. The problem for J.D. Callahan is John Ada is now in 9th position, just 3 spots behind him, and therefore Ada now +3 in the battle. That number's about to grow because Bunch going to go to the bottom, and if the 19 gets by, that 29 could be fixing for a world of hate because there's a single file line of cars ready to pounce on the bottom.
Yeah, definitely the outside is not where you want to be, as there's a check up on the bottom between the 19, 18, and 97. That's what, J.D. Callahan wants to see, just a little bit of check up, maybe give that high line a little bit of hope, as A.J. Hamill seems to be letting the 29 in. That's going to allow the 97 to get on the inside. So J.D. Callahan found his way to the bottom, but it's a little late now, Evan, because he's got the 97 on his back bumper.
Yeah, and this is very ceremoniously, I think, if that 97 of John Ada is going to be able to get around JD Callahan again. It was a 6-point spread, so as they run right now, the 97 is +5. And like I said, Callahan has lost 2 positions. He was 5th when we last really talked about the two, and at that point, he was +4 to the good, as opposed to being -5 as they run right now. But even if you give Callahan those 2 spots back, John Ada, despite the fact that that car is torn up, extremely impressed at how the 97 machine looked, Tris, despite the damage. John Ada really showing some perseverance here.
Yeah, definitely. And Southern National isn't really big on speed, so you just got to keep the aerodynamics on that car. If you can just keep the car clean enough, then you'll be just fine. And that's what we're seeing from that 97 of John Ada. He's found the way to make the car fast, and he's made it to where he can now get that final transfer spot. Still a lot of racing left to go here, Evan, so anything can happen within these final few laps, but right now John Ada looking perfect.
Just behind him, the number 2 is CJ Lavere, was able to make a move to get around AJ Hamill. They exchanged 9th and 10th position, and now they're going to try to catch up to John Ada. Again, this thing may not be over. I don't want to jinx it if it ends up happening, but you do notice that we saw a driver lose the engine just earlier on in this one. I believe it was Alex Oriens, Chris. Well, there's front-end damage on John Ada's machine, and we all know the kind of engine temperature problems that can lead to.
Yeah, definitely, and you never want to say that, especially with the thing that we have going on around the LSRTV community, the commentator's curse, we like to call it. If you never want to see that, especially from a rebound that John Ada's had. But yeah, these cars do go through some grueling temperatures here, and that's what you're seeing. That's what you could see, I should say, from that 97 and that front end damage, or maybe even another car. There's plenty of cars with a lot of damage on this racetrack and a lot of front end damage, Evan, and it's going to be interesting to see if any of these cars do blow here.
If we stay green through, this could also be the longest green flag stretch on the night. Battle for P2 heating up. Brian Rogers Jr. has it. Rex Hoyle wants it. Some of the bigger movers still inside of the top 10, and so Jason Stenney, he's P4, he's +7, so is Justin McDuff. AJ Bunch still at the moment looking like he's going to go on track to be the biggest mover and win tonight's Hag TV Hard Charger Award. Started 24th, he's up 18 spots in P6 at the moment. But if this 50 of Hoyle's finding some long run speed, Brian Rogers Jr. P2 is only half a second off for Brandon Otto. It's not out of the realm of possibility for the 50 to have a shot at this thing.
Yeah, and definitely. And speaking of that 24 of Brandon Otto, he at once had an 8/10 lead over these guys here, Evan. Now they're dropping that down to just a 4/10 lead. So you could be seeing the early effects of Brandon Otto using up the only set of tires that he has, and driving just a little bit too hard, and it's coming back to him, because now with these drivers catching back up, that's going to take what was seemingly a 1-car race where he had that 8/10 lead to now maybe a 3, even 4-car race, because just behind Brian Rogers Jr. and Rex Hoyle, you got the leader of the rookie points, Jason Stenney, in that 4th place position, who's having an awesome run here tonight.
Yeah, it has been a good run for Jason Stenney. We've talked a lot about the championship standings into tonight, and Jason Stenney, as we noted, the highest running rookie in the points yet to go to victory lane. In fact, he's the highest driver in the overall championship without a trip to victory lane, P4. He is the only rookie right now inside of the top 12, and would be the only rookie driver in the chase if JD Callahan is unable to navigate his way back in front of John Ada in the points. By the way, Callahan is only -2 as John Ada has fallen to 11th, but an extremely impressive season for Jason Stenney. He has led the 9 Shiza Autosport rookie points all season long, and well, your overall championship leader, Nicholas Rasmussen, was a rookie not all that long ago, but it seems is the 43 following in his footsteps.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of that 71 machine, we mentioned last week here that he hadn't finished outside of the top 5, even top 10 for the entire season. Well, that driver struggling here just a little bit, all the way back in 17th. He's the last car on the lead lap, so not really what you want to see. And if I jinxed it, got the commentator's curse for him, I'm sorry, Nicholas. I apologize for bringing that up to you. But definitely not what you see out of this car every day.
Caution flying to come out. Somebody's around on the front straightaway. It is Rex Hoyle from inside of the top 5. So this is going to set us up for something interesting. We'll get a second look in a moment on the LSRTV replay. Looks like the bump came from behind, courtesy of Jason Stenny, somebody we were just talking about. Sent the 50 machine around. Stenny gets away without any damage. You take a second look at that one, and this will set us up for a restart inside of 20 laps to go, with much more than just a checkered flag on the line, but a chase berth hanging in the balance for a couple of these guys as well.
Yeah, definitely, and that changes everything here, Evan. You know, what was just a green flag run that now gives Jason Stenny an end of the line penalty. So what was once a 4th place, position will now be at the end of the lead lap cars. So really unfortunate for that 43 and that 50 of Rex Hoyle, who seemed to have kept it off of everything there, Evan, who didn't seem to have many that much damage from what I could see. So just unfortunate as we get set under 20 laps to go, and should shape up for a really good restart.
We will see what happens with these guys as Stenny does drop to the back. He is given that end of the longest line penalty. What that'll do is it'll bump JD Callahan up to 5th. John Ada is 9th. If Callahan holds P5, he needs John Ada to fall back to 11th for them to be tied without bonus points being factored in. If John Ada falls 12th or lower, and Callahan stays at a position that he's in now, he would get that final transfer slot. Again, they came into tonight with a +/-6, Ada to the positive and Callahan to the negative. So they are even if Callahan is 6 spots in front of him. That's going to be the obvious note for these late race restarts coming up. Either it's this one and final one with about 15 laps to go, or if we get 1 or 2 restarts in the mix. But also keep it in mind, Brandon Otto, 2 wins on the season. We talked at the top of the broadcast, Chris, about the guys trying to build some momentum into the chase. The 24, I'm sure, would very much love to do that as he gets set to defend his title in 1 week.
Yeah, definitely does not have to make it that much farther here, Evan, as the pace car is getting ready to duck off. We see the lights off. Brandon Otto would much rather like to see that checkered flag in his favor, but right now he's really good. The other driver I'm paying attention to, JD Callahan, as the pace car pulls off. Brandon Otto off to another great start. JD Callahan's got to figure out something to keep that 97 machine behind him.
24 is going to be able to get the job done, really use it up the inside of the racetrack. He'll go number 1. Brian Rogers going to go for 2 into the back bumper that time in 3 and 4. With the top 2 do single file out. Battle for 3rd going to go in favor of AJ Bunch. McDuff falls to 4th.
Yeah, definitely that 19 of AJ Bunch we mentioned so many times. He started 24th. He's now up to 3rd, and he's beating on the back bumper of Brian Rogers Jr. Going to throw it in there, but he's not going to make it that time. The 96 in the wall, that's Al Smith Jr. seems to have a little contact, and now there's contact between the 22. No caution yet. They all seem to keep it safe. Doesn't seem like it's going to bring a caution out of him.
Another dicey situation off at 3 and 4. Al Smith Jr. able to hang on. You do see a lot of cars painted in that black and pink cancer awareness wrap, and without going into too much detail, it's a cause very dear to a lot of the guys in this series, and it's good seeing a lot of those cars run up front. Tough break for Al, though probably not going to get the result out of this race that he wanted. He's locked into the points into tonight. AJ Bunch going for 2nd. 1 shot at a 2nd, trying to move Rogers out of the way. Can't do it. The 12 hangs on, and now behind CJ LeVere dives to the inside on Justin McDuff.
And we were talking about how Brian Rogers Jr. would love to see that checkered flag in his favor. Well, he's got to be loving this in his back mirror, Evan. Seeing all these drivers not just battling for position is going to allow him to drive away, and they got to get it figured out because they're running out of time here to battle it out and try to get this win.
2 and 20 still side by side, 8 laps to go. That time at a start finish on. Otto looking like he's going to be able to put this car into victory lane, barring maybe one more yellow and one more restart. He's 1 second in front of Brian Rogers Jr., who is being hotly contested by AJ Bunch. LeVere's been able to get around McDuff, move the number 2 up to P4. An update on that championship battle for P12. Callahan is 6th on track. John Ada is 8th on track. Nothing going there at the moment. Side by side for 2nd, the 12 and a 19 again.
Yeah, the 19 of AJ Bunch has been trying to beat off the back bumper. Now CJ LeVere going to get some contact between that 19 car, and that's going to allow Brian Rogers Jr. to escape the conflict for now. And now AJ Bunch going to connect with the 19 again. They're just beating and banging. Oh, and he's going to run him up into the wall. Not really Justin McDuff not knowing what to do there. Was going to push it wide. They're still door banging him.
Not much on the left side of the 19, and to a CJ LeVere. Belt ran him out of room. He used an attempted pass by the 20 to get around Justin McDuff, but he did the same to LeVere. It's going to play chicken off the turn number 1. 1, 2, 3 hits in the corner, side by side in this battle for position over third place. LeVere on the outside, not giving up, but Bunch bullied his way to the bottom at 3 laps to go.
Tempers are flaring here late. Evan, nobody's wanting to give up. AJ Bunch not able to complete the pass right now. Going to dive it in. It's going to allow CJ LeVere to get away. Going to get right up on that back bumper. Not going to get there, so maybe settle things out. But now it's another shot to the back bumper of CJ LeVere. So, tempers flaring here late. We're crossing the line with only one more lap to go.
White flag going to be in the air this time. No challenge for Brandon Otto. 4/10 of a mile left to go, and he is going to lock up win number 3 on the season, and he's going to look to defend this championship starting in 1 week's time with all the momentum in the world. Checkered flag, Brandon Otto, your winner from Southern National Motorsports Park. He'll break right into the celebratory drift. Rogers, LeVere through the top 3, Bunch and McDuff inside of the top 5. J.D. Callahan hangs on for a P6. A.J. Hamill 7th, but John Ada recovers, finishes P8, and takes home the final transfer position.
Yeah, definitely good run by that 97 car. Just being able to, get that car back into a racing, condition. That car took some major hits early on within like the first 15 laps, I want to say here, Evan. So it's great to see that the 97 of John Ada was able to, rebound and get that 8th place finish, and even more importantly, take that final transfer spot.
AJ Bunch just had to start the race to lock up his spot. He did so. Justin McDuff needed to get a P20 or better. He finished P5 and was able to get the job done. John Ada needed at least a P6, but with the P8 tonight, and with J.D. Callahan, the next closest driver, coming home 2 spots in front of him only, and with Eric Haig crashing out of this race, Alex Orions not close enough to make it a battle, James McIntyre Jr. not close enough, John Ada will join Nicholas Rasmussen, Justin Fuller, Brandon Otto, Jason Stenney, A.J. Hamill, Stefan Marinak, Brian Rogers Jr., Al Smith Jr., and C.J. LeVere as the drivers who were locked in coming into tonight. Bunch, McDuff, Ada secure their spots in the final race. Surprisingly, despite all that happened in this race, especially those opening 30 or 35 laps or so, Chris, nobody ended up going above or below the cut line.
Yeah, just really interesting to see how that all transpired. Having such a hard, start to this race as we saw here tonight, everybody being able to keep their spots in the chase, very interesting to me. So it's going to be interesting, especially next week, seeing how this chase, starts off. It's going to be right where we left off, I think, here tonight, Evan, with all these tempers flaring.
We'll take an opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we will go trackside. Victory lane, Brandon Otto, your winner tonight from Southern National Motorsports Park. The 11 race regular season is coming and gone, and we go chase racing now with our 12 driver field set, but post race still coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the tire model? Nothing?
Welcome back live to the Southern National Motorsports Park, where we have wrapped up the 11th and final regular season race on the 2016-2017 Upstate Racing League, Les Enterprises MP Roy Pro Late Model Series and LSRTV at iRacing Live. Tonight's coverage, as always, brought to you in part by Les Enterprises MP Roy Incorporated. Formed back in 2007 as Canada's only authorized racing electronics dealership and as a trackside parts vendor, they have since expanded their offering, and their major products include AR Bodies, Coleman Racing Products, Jones Racing, Leaf Racewear, Longa Care Racing Products, Port City Race Cars, Racing Electronics, Raceiver, and Swift Springs. For more information regarding Les Enterprises MP Roy or their product offering, you can visit them online at www.lesenterprisesmproyinc.com or call them at 1-877-35-MP-ROY. That's 1-877-356-7769. We'll be going to Les Enterprises MP Roy Victory Lane in a moment with Brandon Otto. First, we'll take a look at tonight's full race results for round number 11. Brandon Otto gets the job done. Brian Rogers Jr. comes home with a P2, and CJ LeVere comes home in third. We'll talk with all of them in just a moment. AJ Bunch wins tonight's Hank TV Hard Charger Award, plus 20 to come home P4, with Justin McDuff just behind him, rounding out the top 5. JD Callahan, a good run, not enough, P6. He's eliminated from chase contention tonight. AJ Hamill, 7th. John Ada advances with a P8 finish. Eric Spencer came home behind him in 9th, and Dan DeBook rounded out your top 10.
Jason Stinney, who was caught up in a late race caution there, he finishes P11th. Rex Hoyle, another one falling victim to these cautions, 12th. 13th, James McIntyre Jr., 14th. Al Smith Jr., Jay Dubuque, 15th. Mike Holtzclaw coming home in that 16th position. 17th, and now starting our lap down cars, that's Dylan Gaudet, Nicholas Rasmussen, 18th. 19th, Paul Fugate, and Alex Orions will round out your top 20.
Final couple of guys, as we noted at the halfway point, everybody from here on back out of the race when it's all said and done. Sean Cool finished 99 laps down. Everybody else triple digits, 22nd through 24th. Mike Fortier, Justin Fuller, and Eric Hagg. That's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results for round number 11. We talked a lot tonight about the final transfer spot, and one of the guys who didn't have to worry about a transfer position into tonight was Mr. Brandon Otto. He had that locked up, but we also talked a lot about momentum And this is, if you count the All-Star race from a couple of weeks ago, his third consecutive win. And if you talk about regular season races alone, he has won now 3 of the last 4. Brandon Otto is your winner tonight from Southern National Motorsports Park, where trackside with the driver of the number 24. Brendan, congratulations. You guys started up front. You looked pretty evenly matched with Eric Hag there, and you guys made some contact early on in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great win. I mean, it was just a tough track. I know we had some horrible luck here last year, and this race, I mean, just a lot of sorries and a lot of apologies going out there over the chatter today. A lot of incidents out there. So I don't want to say this was a great race, but you know, a lot of people had a lot of trouble, and I guess we were just on the better end of it. I feel bad for Hag. I didn't want his race to end like that. We were racing each other pretty hard up there, and you know, went for that crossover move. I just don't think he was ready for it, and we made a little bit of contact, and yeah, I hate that for him. But you know, I gotta say this is some great momentum headed into the chase, and yeah, third consecutive win, as you said. I'll take it. I'm really happy for that.
If it makes you feel any better, if he won the race, I don't think it would have been enough because John Ada still finished P8. So it didn't, I think, in the end, have an ultimate result on the championship. You talk about momentum, and that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask you about because a lot of these guys, we had kind of talked about this dynamic at the start of the broadcast, how, you know, we talked with somebody like a Justin Fuller who got a lot of wins early, got back-to-back in the second and third races. Same with Nicholas, who won rounds 4 and 5 at USA and Lanier. We kind of joked around about the lack of importance of the races from that point on to tonight. And, you know, we're like, okay, Chase comes up. That's when the work starts. For you guys, though, you guys were kept out of victory lane for quite some time. Not that, you know, you weren't in a decent position in the points before that, but I know that breaking through and getting to victory lane has some substantiality to it. If we even include the All-Star race into things, you go round 8, 9, All-Star race, rounds 10 and 11. You're 4 of the last 5 these guys have been on track. That has to be huge, I would imagine, going into the chase because there is no off week. The chase starts in 1 week's time, and I think that really these guys have been chasing you for the last couple of weeks, and it has to give you, I guess, to some extent, some level of confidence going into that championship.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I mean, like you said, just you know, we were kept on a victory lane for so long, and I was starting to doubt this season. I was really starting to doubt myself, and I didn't think we'd ever find it. But you know, we had a couple of real strong races, and if Martinsville wasn't in the equation, where I actually had some mechanical issues, I think we'd be sitting real pretty right now. You know, even if you know we're sitting, I think maybe third or second in points, but you know, it's huge to be able to go into the chase. These last 5 races are going to be huge, and to come off this win streak like this, I mean, it's really huge, especially for the confidence, for the team, for everything. Just to go out there and you know get it done. It's pretty much our chase at this point, and I know Fuller's really strong. We got Rasmussen, lots of these guys, real strong. Competition's never been this fierce out there, so I'm really excited to see how this chase is gonna play out.
For you guys to know that you don't want tonight to be the final time you do the little bit of a drift celebration, 5 races coming up: Bristol, Langley, Stafford, 5 Flags, New Smyrna. The races are going to tend to be a little bit longer. How do you think those tracks play to your strengths?
Oh, they definitely play into my strengths. I think I have a win at pretty much every one of those tracks except for maybe New Smyrna. I know Langley we're undefeated at. We haven't ever lost a race there at Upstate, so I'm really excited to keep that streak going. It's definitely my strongest track out there, and I'm really excited for the rest of the races. You know, Bristol's one of our big races too, and it's all going to come down to it at the end. I think a lot of these drivers are really good at all these tracks as well. So again, it's going to be anybody's race. It's going to be a matter of who can take the opportunities and make the most of them.
11 races down, but really the last 5 has been where the 24 team is heated up, and I think you guys are on the ball at the right time, Brandon. We'll let you take off. As always, though, down here at Victory Lane tonight, the sponsors, the shout-outs, the good folks behind the scenes. Who makes it happen?
Of course, first and foremost, I got to send my condolences out to Cale Frenier, who lost his grandfather just before the race today. So my condolences out to you. I also got to give a shout out to AJ Bunch and his girlfriend. They're battling cancer right now, so I just my thoughts and prayers are with them. I also got to thank my sponsors out there, iRacing Memes Facebook page, also Auto Rescue Team, and Pole Position Raceway Buffalo. Got to thank all the fans out there watching. We got Ed Neal, Mike Tedonio, Daniel Morrow finally got to watch me win out there. Everybody who comes out every week. I got Dylan Yorks, Matt Farnham, Sam Junkin. I'm sure Will Salisbury. Everybody's out there watching. Thanks for watching, guys, and especially you guys up in the broadcast booth. Good to talk to you again, Evan. It's been a while. So yeah, thanks, guys. Also, thank you to our race sponsor today, and Al Smith, for putting this on too.
That's now your 3-time race winner in 2016, 2017. Brandon Oda, your winner tonight from Southern National. Brandon, thanks for chatting. As always, best of luck, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Hope to talk to you soon.
Odo gets the job done and could arguably be the favorite at this point, despite a slow start, as we get set to head off to the championship. Week's time, and he gets set to try to defend his title from one season ago. Brandon Rogers Jr. comes home in P2 tonight. He is another driver that's going to be battling in his championship. So is CJ LeVere, who came home in third. Trackside with both of them is Chris Murdoch first with the driver who comes home P2.
Yep, standing right here next to me, Brian Rogers Jr., who had a very tame race compared to others. Brian, finishing P2, what was it like out there tonight?
It was actually pretty good. Practice wasn't as well, but I figured something out at the end, and it worked.
And, after this race, talking momentum-wise, P2 is really, really good going into this championship run, and you don't have a lot of time off here. No off weeks in the Upstate Racing League. You're going to jump right into the chase. Are you happy with how you ended off the regular season and how you're going to use this momentum to go on into, the chase?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was already locked into the chase no matter what happened with this race, but this definitely is a huge confidence booster for the chase. I mean, I've been doing this for 3 seasons now, and I just keep getting faster. So I'm hoping for a good chase.
And in speaking of this chase, a lot of tracks. You got your Martinsvilles and your Bristols. Are you looking forward to any of these tracks that we're going to? Are there any tracks that you're really strong at that we should be watching for that 12 machine coming up here soon?
Martinsville, I'm pretty good. Bristol, I'm all right. We'll just have to wait and see, but I do like Martinsville.
And you came home second, but there's a whole lot of people behind you that have to help you out. Who are your sponsors, your shout outs, anybody that you want to give a call to before we let you go here this evening?
John Ida, he did my wrap for my car. Mountain Dew. Just Al for doing all the stuff he does for this league, and all our sponsors, Tire King, and for sponsoring this race, and all the sponsors that help us out. If it wasn't for them, we couldn't do this, so I just want to thank all those guys.
And there you have it, guys. That's your second place finisher, Brian Rogers Jr. in that 12 machine. Brian, thanks for sticking around chatting with us, and we wish you luck in the chase.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
All right, that's your second place finisher. Standing next to me on my other side, you got CJ LeVere in that 2 machine, who also is battling for this championship coming up in just 1 week's time. He comes on in third. CJ, how was your race out there tonight?
Very, very stressful, and I'm just happy to be here right now with you guys.
And, the big talk on the night is, momentum, and CJ finishing third place. That produces a whole lot of momentum here tonight, propelling you into next week. Are you happy with how you finished the regular season and going off into the next season, the next part of this season?
I'm pretty happy right now. The first part of the year, we lucky to even be in the chase. We had some bad luck, and we really haven't been running well, and these last couple weeks, back-to-back top threes is really good. It's good momentum going into the chase, and hopefully we can continue to carry it on.
And I want to go back here just a few laps before this race ended. There was a heated battle between you and the 19 of AJ Bunch. You guys were beating each other off, running each other high, about as clean as you could keep it without actually wrecking the guy. Was there any harsh words being said over the radio, or was it just good, clean, hard racing?
It it was just hard racing for the end for the top three, and a little temper at the end there, but or why it was going on, but at the end, it's just hard racing, and it's nothing personal. It's just trying to get a top three. It's racing. That's the way it is, and you lose your temper a little bit, but you move on from it. You can't let it bring you down. You can't let it hold you back, or even carry it on the next week. You got to get over it. You got business to take care of.
And speaking of next week, that chase starts, no off weeks here in Upstate. Are there any tracks you're looking forward to on this chase schedule that we could be looking for that 2 machine to maybe, propel itself into victory lane?
We'd like to get in victory lane, period. We haven't been able to do that yet this year. We're not really looking forward to or looking at any one certain track. We're going to go out and put our best into every track, and we'll try and get one of them. We can't guarantee it, but right now the goal is to keep top threes, top fives, and if we can keep doing that, maybe we'll have a shot at the end.
All right, CJ, 11 races down, and, the real racing starts next week. But, you can't do this all by yourself. Who are the sponsors? Any shout-outs? Anybody in particular you like to thank before we let you go here this evening?
I got to thank my teammate with Mach 1 Racing Graphics and beautiful cars he paints me, of course, always. Got to thank Upstate Racing League and all their sponsors. I can't even name them all off. There's so many of them, so we'll carry on from there.
All right, CJ, finished strong third. We look forward to talk to you here throughout the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Thanks for putting on the show.
And there you have it. That's your third place finisher, CJ Levera, in that 2 machine. Evan, this race ends with tempers, as CJ mentioned. Now we're moving on to where the real racing starts, and I myself am excited. What are you expecting from this chase?
Well, we know that it's going to be 5 races, and that's really all we can guarantee. Because if you look at, I think it would be interesting, and maybe we'll chat about it when we get to that first chase race. But if you look at, points accumulated over the first 5 races of the season versus the last 5, you're talking about the last 5, completely different season than what we saw early on. So that's how quickly things can change. It's not a 10-race chase. 5 races, well, it's a good number. I mean, you get hot like Brandon Otto, and you almost hope that he didn't, peak a little bit too early, but, you get hot, and 3 good races, 3 second-place finishes, puts you almost unbeatable. And I think that kind of the point that CJ was making, Chris, a lot of these guys might be going more so for the consistent finishes, maybe get a top 5 every race, as opposed to winning 2 or 3, but then having, bad finishes and the other ones where you're outside the top 20 or something. So consistency could be big, but again, we really won't know until we have about 2 or 3 of those races down, I think, till we can kind of get a better look at the complexion of how this championship's going to play out.
Yeah, definitely. Consistency is definitely key here, especially in the short track racing and these, Chevy Monte Carlos. And it's just going to be interesting to see, like you mentioned, having 1 or 2 of these chase races down. Then we'll get the lay of the land, and we'll be able to see the trend and, all the facts that play into the chase racing this week. And I myself am very interested, and I can't wait for next week.
Do want to thank, again, a lot of the people that make this happen. Some of the sponsors, NHL Racing, as well as CKF Construction, Hag TV, Les Enterprises, MP Roy, of course, VTFantasyRacing.com, and Kingsport Tire and Auto Center for being the presenting sponsor of tonight's Kingsport Tire and Auto Center 125. That does it here tonight from the Southern National Motorsports Park. It is time to go chase racing, starting in 1 week's time, January the 19th and the 26th, February the 2nd, the 9th, and the 16th. We are non-stop until the championship in New Smyrna at about a month's time from now. You can take a look at our full extended broadcast schedule online at our website to find out the next time you can find us at LSRTV and iRacing Live coming up. One more date coming up on the work week, coming up tomorrow night, Friday, January the 13th at 9 o'clock Eastern. We have the Super Speedway Cup Series. We're also on air this Saturday, January the 14th at 10 o'clock Eastern for the United Sim Racing B&C Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. You get a full broadcast schedule online at www.livesimracing.com. We also encourage you to stay stay up to date with us on social media, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LSRTV to watch us when we're live every single night. You can also stay in the loop and follow us on Twitter at LSRTV, and you could also give us a like on Facebook. That'll be facebook.com/LSRTV official. On behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC, for the folks behind the scenes, and for the broadcast crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Chris Murdoch and our producer, Cisco Scaramouza, I want to thank you for tuning in. Congratulate not only Brandon Otto as your race winner, but our 12-driver championship grid who qualifies into the 5-race chase for the championship. It all starts next week, right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We will see you next week.